Welcome to the show. A report out this morning warns that thousands of mortgage holders are effectively trapped in their homes because their deposits or savings have disappeared. Falling house prices over the last 5 years have meant dramatic reductions in the amount of equity that homeowners possess. The report says that the trend is causing a bottleneck in the housing market and preventing many people and families from moving. Well, joining me now to talk about this, we have Henry Fryer. Thank you very much for coming in to talk to us about this. Let's start off by looking at exactly what the problem is. Is it negative equity, or is it the difficulties that we've had in simply house prices being too high?
Well, the problem for many people with what is, at the end of the day, just a sentiment survey, this is the Halifax asking people how they feel about the housing market. The importance of that is that it's confidence that is so vital when it comes to the housing market and to house prices. These second steppers, as they're unfortunately referred to, are the people who are trying to move up out of the way to allow first-time buyers to come in and to move on up the housing ladder. And what we've established with this report is very clear that, unfortunately, the housing ladder has several rungs missing, and probably, whilst there is activity at the bottom with some first-time buyers now being able to scramble onto the ladder, actually the majority of movement in the housing market is by people downsizing, coming down the ladder from the top.
Really? So if you're in this difficult situation, let's say you have a one-bedroom flat and you really need to move into a two-bedroom flat, you might have had a child, for instance, what can you do? What's available to you to help you?
Well, the options are very limited. One of the things that this report highlights is that we think there are about 1.5 million people who, since the peak of the market and the crash of 2007, have seen all their equity evaporate. And as a result, even if they wish to move, they're going to find it very difficult, because without that increased deposit that lenders require today, they're unable to put down the deposit that will allow them to move on, to get the mortgage, to be able to climb up that ladder. So those that can move at the moment, we've seen those coming down the housing ladder, as we mentioned a moment ago. But first-time buyers are starting to make an appearance, hopefully, into the housing market this spring. Government initiatives like New Buy and First Buy are helping. But the irony is that the biggest problem for most people in getting onto the housing ladder, and indeed moving as second steppers, is getting the banks and lenders to actually accommodate the demands that people are making.
Now, that's the key phrase. That's the word that everybody uses, second steppers, for these people in these difficult positions. What about the government schemes? Can they not help out here? If you're in the difficult position of being in a place that's too small for you, do you go and approach your local authority or someone like that?
I think that home ownership is very much down to homeowners and to lenders. Government has given considerable support, and as we've seen from news today from the Liberal Democrats conference, spring conference, there is talk of changes in the wind for homeowners and for the housing market, with perhaps even more changes to be announced perhaps as soon as the budget coming up later in the month. But I think that probably those who want to get up onto the next rung of the housing ladder are very much going to have to do it and find ways of doing it themselves. Some banks and institutions have a product that will help you if you've seen your equity disappear, but by and large, it's every man for himself, I'm afraid.
Well, Henry, thank you very much. Pleasure to have you in, as always.